so I will continue my talk in English. My name is Marcel from Pinxteren. We're here as front-end developers. I assume most of you are using JavaScript if you are writing any kind of front-end stuff in the browser. We want to introduce you to a different language and a different paradigm. JavaScript is object-oriented, and I want to explain a little bit about Elm, which is Elm is a functional programming language. Maybe you know Scala, which is a backend functional language. Elm is a it's surprising for many people that you can use functional programming in front-end. We aim to have a 45-minute talk. I'm going to introduce Elm in 10 minutes, and then Tadeusz will show some live coding and build a small Elm application from scratch, and showing how to integrate traditional Polymer JavaScript libraries in this new environment of Elm. I discovered Elm myself when I was in San Francisco. I ran into a training by Richard Feldman, who was one of the founding fathers. No, as I said, this is a presentation that normally takes 45 minutes itself, so I'm going to click through and you can find it later on in the meetup group. So we're used to object-oriented programming, and then we have classes, objects, states, and methods. So state and the functions are mixed. This is what triggered me to question this object-oriented way of thinking, to agree. In object-oriented programming, you have the MVC paradigm, the model view controller. I think that's what Angular is based on as well. It was introduced in 1980, so a very long time ago. And people have discovered better solutions in the meantime. So this, it became a bit messy, all this model view control and dependencies. So it has been suggested to think of a different way of working. So Elm is a functional language. Are you people familiar with functional programming? A little bit? Most.
But you don't admit, because if you admit it, then you're putting yourself to
Yeah.
less utility.
Yeah. In some environments, functional programming is seen as superior to object-oriented programming. The founder of Elm, he wants to bring Elm to just normal people who want to build a program and who want to become scholars in computer science. Functional programming is not about having an object which contains state. It's about transforming data into new data. Functions do this transformation. In modern Java, you also see this list of streams, map, reduce, and filter kind of functions. They're becoming more and more mainstream, but they originate from functional programming. So everything is a function. What Evan is the creator of the Elm language. He introduced the Elm architecture, which is a variant of functional reactive programming. So we're going to see some example of reactive programming after this talk. And it's based on state transitions. So similar to functions. Transforming data. You can think of a state of a user interface as going from one state to another. this is the idea that you have a kind of a random loop. The model contains the state, and the actions or the transformations are done in a separate part of your program, where the state an action is done on the state and it's transformed into a new state, and the state is used, only the state is used to make it visible in the view function. There's no bindings or observers going back and forth, it's all one way. So this is a picture of how you can think of it. The model, there's only one way that a model is transformed into something visible, and the user interacts with this, and it's turned into intents or actions or messages, which result in a new state, a new model. And you can also build in a hierarchy in your application to keep things organized. So you can have sub-views, you can split up your data, your model in small pieces. These are two little YouTube videos that you can watch to get some quick idea, but we don't have the time to show them now. So this was all about the model and how it's shown in the browser, and that's all written in Elm code. If you want to connect an Elm application to the outside world, you use, well, you're talking about side effects. One of the principles of functional programming is that you have pure functions that don't have side effects. So you need something special to handle these cases. So outside world can be RESTful services, but also the browser itself is seen as the outside world. So you communicate with exterior JavaScript code via messages or subscriptions, as they're called. So these subscriptions are to listen to outside events, and commands are used to make something happen in the outside world.
To be super strict, I wouldn't call them side effects anymore, it's just effects in this case. Because they are the main thing.
Yeah, the effects to
you have to be explicit. You want an effect. It's not a side thing. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's an important principle in Elm is that you want to make things explicit. So no secret annotations, and no hidden side effects of something happening inside some component that you've built.
If you run a function, it will just do the computation and it will return the result. It won't do things like, like in JavaScript, you run a function and it maybe does some computation, but also can change anything else, like outside variables.
Yeah, or if you hand an object to a function, it can, in JavaScript, you can end up with changes in your object.
Yeah,
well, that's the normal way of doing things, and that can make things complicated or cause unexpected behavior.
Yeah, and there's also like in JavaScript, there's recently a lot of effort to mitigate this thing because it causes problems. So like for immutable JS or semi-immutable, and well, in Elm you have it like out of the box. You cannot have anything else.
Okay. So you don't have any objects in Elm? You don't use it?
No, you have the concept of the data is stored in records or other data structures, but they're immutable.
Yeah.
So the only way to make changes to data is to create a new version of the same thing with a little change.
If what you call object is data that has some behavior attached to it, then no, in Elm you don't have this thing. You can have data and you can have transformations, which are just functions, but you cannot have a thing that contains both data and behavior.
Well, I use objects in JavaScript because I can very easily handle data in one package. Like
that's just using the record, right?
Yeah, so like person length, blah blah blah, person height, blah blah blah.
Nobody says that.
For instance, so it's very easy to send that package somewhere, but you cannot do that in
that's a record.
That's
a record.
That's a record.
That's a record.
But if you have, like, what's the full name of this person? If there's a full name function method on the object, then it's an object and no longer. You can't do that.
Yeah. Actually, if you think about object, like object in JavaScript has some data, like properties, and also methods. Yeah? So methods are what I call behaviors. So and if you think about it, like it's not very easy to carry out send somewhere object with methods, because for example, if you want to serialize it and send it to server, then it's not trivial. Yeah. Okay. So it's easy to send data, not so easy to send the behavior. So Elm is it's a different paradigm. Nobody will say at least I'm not saying that it's better. Like it's just different, and object-oriented programming, of course, also has its merits. Yeah. But Elm is different.
But it's a conceptual choice to take out the object thing.
To separate the functions from the data.
So what is the conceptual advantage that you have by taking that out?
Oh, it's a very big discussion. I don't think we have time for that. Maybe it will be easier to talk about it after our presentation. So maybe we can have discussion there, because right now in abstract it will be very lengthy discussion, I guess, and confusing. So maybe
get coding. So there was one other question.
It's what like the string object. It's an object string. You make a string, and then if you make change the string, then you get a new object.
Yeah, a new string. Yeah.
You have a variable
string is not
type string. That's what you have in Elm.
It's just value. It's not an object. It's just a value of a type string. Yeah. I guess there's not much difference between primitive and non-primitive types. No, I would say they all behave the same. That's the nice thing. You don't have to think about them like you have to think about them in JavaScript, because if you pass a string to a function, the string is immutable. So you don't have to worry if this function will change my string or not. In Elm, you don't have to worry about it. You can have crazy data structures, very big, complex data structures, record with nested records and with lists and records in lists and then arrays, and no matter what you do with it, it's always immutable, like the language guarantees that. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let me see if I'll be able to actually record the screen as well, if it won't break the presentation. So maybe we can have better. We can also have like a recording of what's going on here, not only from the camera. This is how we do it. Recording with microphone. Yeah, okay. Should work. Looks like everything is working. Thanks, Marcel, for introduction. I will just show you 3 slides, okay? 3 slides, and then we'll get to coding. And my slides will also be in text editor, so we will be very close to code. Okay. So, yeah, first, a very short slide about me. This is what I'm going to show you. Rapid and solid application prototyping. My first claim was that it will be application development. I made this claim 2 weeks ago, but by experimenting and preparing to this talk, I discovered that actually it's probably not a good method of development of application, but I believe it's a very good, what I want to show you is a very good method of prototyping applications. You can call me Ted because my real name is like difficult for you. This is me. This is my son Alex, and I choose this photo because I believe this is an elm tree here. And also, elm is very young, the technology, and I'm totally fascinated by it. And also, maybe he's fascinated by me, or maybe his facial expression says that he's not impressed by my CSS skills. I think that's maybe this. He doesn't speak yet, so I'm not sure what's the meaning of this. But okay, so very quickly, why what I want to show you and why I think it's interesting is because Elm is very good at building like really solid applications, but you have to have a complex UI and animations and all these nice things that users and investors like to see. You have to connect everything together, and it's a great development experience. Like it's really nice to build these things in Elm. It's great to building UIs, but it's quite a lot of work. Like you have to think about your code, and there's quite a lot of boilerplate, which is a good thing, I believe, in long term. Like if I have a big application, I want everything to be explicit, and Elm kind of provides it to me. But if you really want to get off the ground and have like something to show to your client, for example, that yeah, this is what we are building, it may not be the best choice. So what people usually do, I believe, in JavaScript world is build something with jQuery, and it has all the whiz bang and animations. Build a prototype, show it if it's approved, like that this is the direction we are going. Well, then good luck refactoring it. Probably just start from scratch using some better suited technology like Angular, React, or some other framework. But probably you won't reuse a lot of code from this first prototype. And I believe in case of Elm, it is possible to build on top of that. So start really quickly with Elm and with web components, and then continue develop your application to serious application. Okay, so I'll show it to you in 5 points, and I expect we'll only get to the 3rd point, because then we run out of time, but who knows, we'll see. I would really like to have some discussion, so if you have questions, just ask. If the question is too loaded, I will just tell you that we don't have time for that. But just, yeah, try and ask, and I'll try to explain. Yeah, so I'm going to start from scratch, like literally from empty folder, and then we'll see how far we can get with it. Okay, so let's call it like that. Actually, we'll use npm to manage the dependencies. I really like to have all my dependencies in project kind of encapsulated, not to depend on external things. So yeah, let's quickly create a package for npm. Doesn't matter. I used to be a lawyer, so this kind of matters for me. Let's call it like that. No, it's called GPL 3.0. Okay. So that you know, no one gets our code and patents it. You know how it is. Okay. Let's already open this thing. And actually, let's also close this one, so it doesn't confuse us. Okay, and now I think I can switch here because I just installed this embedded terminal, and we'll see how good it suits us, so we can have everything on the screen. Okay, so as I told you, I want to have everything installed locally, so let's install Elm and Elm Live, and these are just two dependencies that we will install with npm. It will take some time, so let's already start writing some Elm code. There's a lot of errors because we don't have Elm package initiated yet, because we don't have Elm installed, but don't worry, we'll move along and just ignore the error messages. Yes, module main. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's very nagging. Okay, we have Elm installed, but let's finish this. Our main will be just a piece of DOM that we will display. Let's make it a div without properties and with one child, which will be a text. We'll say hello. It's like hello from Elm. Okay, I promise it won't be like that long. Yeah, now we have 513 packages installed. The npm at its best. Okay, now that I have this, I have Elm Live. I can do develop script, and this develop script will be like that: Elm Live. I'll make it publicly available, so you can all access it on local network, like maybe from your phone. I'll make it a debug, so we will see some debugging information. And elm.main elm, and I believe that's all we need. Let's see. Oh yeah, of course, JSON. I know, I think this JSON and JavaScript syntax, I think it's anti-human. Like, why do I have to remember comma? Like, it's obvious. Without this comma, you could figure out what it means. And the computer also can figure out that. So why is he forcing me to do that? Why? Okay, but thank you, it's a very good point. I always make this mistake. And, yeah, so now Elm asks us kindly if we want to add some dependencies. These are kind of dependencies that are always expected to be required in a project, but still it's very friendly, and it asks us if we actually want to add these dependencies. Yes, we want to add them. And already it's saying that something's wrong with our program. Very good. I love it. It's very friendly. Okay, so cannot find variable div. Of course it cannot find variable div, because in Elm you have to be explicit. Let's try to help him. Import. Yeah, this is the thing in Atom. I need to reload it. It has this this plugin that helps you with Elm, but if I install new packages, it kind of cannot catch them on the fly. I have to reload the window, and then it realizes that there are new packages. Yeah, so now what we want to import? We want to import HTML exposing div. Yes, and of course the same for the text. Import HTML exposing text. And now our small application is correct. Let's run develop again. Also, when I reload, my terminal is killed, so that's why I have to run it again. Now that it runs, it should continue observe the changes and recompile, and we shouldn't. Oh, my browser is gone. Okay. Hello. Yeah, so this is the kind of the simplest Elm program you can write, and of course it's not super impressive, Elm, but yeah, it's pretty quick, as you can see. Even for a big program, the compiler is rather quick. Okay, so let's get to the core of my presentation, which is how to marry Elm with web components. To make it pleasant, there are already several demonstrations on the internet of using Elm with web components. So basically, it works. But Elm is purely functional, and it has a very nice type system. And all these presentations, they depend on passing strings, like name of the component, the custom element a string, and name of the attribute a string. So then we lose type safety. Yeah, because what I mean by that is if I have this div, we know that it's a HTML div, and it takes list of attributes, and then it takes list of other HTML elements. So if I would try to put element, like let's say I put a div, another div here, and it's an empty div, yeah, it will tell me that no, it won't work, because function div is expecting first argument to be HTML attribute, and I gave it HTML. So this is what I mean by type safety. The compiler will tell you if even if your HTML is wrong. So to mitigate this thing about type safety with using Polymer web components, I created a small, actually I mostly generated it, a small Elm package that I call Elm Polymer, and we are going to install it. Oh, I claimed that I will be using this in editor thing. Okay, Elm Polymer, again it asks us. Elm is also, this is a very nice thing about Elm package, that it enforces semantic versioning. You cannot introduce breaking changes to Elm package repository without bumping major version. Yes, let's install it. And now I already know that I will have to reload this thing again. Let's start develop again. Okay, so let's make something nicer than our Elm thing. Oh, also I need to have custom HTML. Sorry about that. So by default, Elm Live will compile your. If you give it Elm source code, it will create HTML. Actually, that's what Elm make. So it's like Elm compiler does. It can create an HTML page. So it's very easy to start developing with Elm, because you just write Elm, and it will give you HTML with all the JavaScript generated inside. But we don't want that, because we want to have control over our HTML. So yeah, title will be and that's all we need. Yeah, we don't want this. And also let's maybe beautify it. It looks a little bit better. And now I want this import. So this is what web components do. They introduce this link rel import thing, so you can kind of require things, HTML from another HTML, and that's mostly what we need. Also, we will want to change the way Elm Live behaves, because otherwise it will overwrite our index.html, so we of course don't want that. We want to have output as main.js. And then, of course, we need to import this main.js. And just to make things nicer, this is not really required, but to make it mobile friendly, we will add this piece of HTML here, like viewport and Roboto font, because we want to use this material style, and some basic CSS just to kind of a CSS reset. So let's just paste it here. Let's make it beautiful. And at this point, if I run develop again, we should have exactly the same thing, but with HTML separated from our Elm. So now we can do stuff with HTML. But actually, we can forget about HTML. Everything is set. The next stage will be to actually use some web components. So let's leave this div, maybe even actually put some style in it, so that it's on big screens it's not so big, like max. And center it. Probably we won't see it because it's less than 800 pixels wide. I don't know. No, of course we didn't see it because we have errors in our code. That's because the style is not imported. We want HTML attribute style. And oh yeah, and of course the style takes a list. So this syntax here is a list literal in Elm. And now, yeah, now it's apparently working. It's 800 pixels wide. So let's put something nice in inside, like maybe instead of this text, let's put a header here, and inside our header let's put a toolbar. Yeah. And inside our toolbar let's put icon button with icon menu, and let's put attribute and of course we need to import all these things. Not this header, app layout header. Not this one. Layout toolbar. Icon button. It's this one. And icon. So that's what I said, that you need kind of a lot of boilerplate, which at the beginning is a little bit slowing down, but I believe in the long term it's very good, because it's very explicit what your program is doing. Icon, from icon button attributes. Yeah. And bam, we have this very nice icon button. Let's maybe add another icon button, like let's say for search. What did I do wrong? Toolbar. No, I put it in the wrong place, I guess. Let's try to reformat it. So it's more readable. This is also notice Elm format. It's a very nice utility. All Elm programs are formatted the same. There is this Elm format thing, so there's no discussions about how do we format things. It's super nice. Okay, so now it's still working, and now I want to put after this div. Oh, of course, I put this bracket here. It's too much. And look, it's positioned like, since we have this main title here, it automatically moves it to the right. So no CSS. Yeah? I like it really, because I really don't like CSS. Okay. But
you were complaining about commas, so maybe it's easier to remember to put your commas in.
oh yeah, that's also something you won't discuss in Elm. Like Elm format will put your commas in the front, and that's it. And I used to not like it. Now I just don't care. Like I don't care. It's in the front. Okay. I think I would be quite able to have a multi-hour discussion with another developers if comma should be in front or not. But with Elm format I cannot discuss, and that's a good thing. It's yeah.
How did you find that you search what was going to write? So where is that program?
Yeah, this is what Elm Polymer are doing for me. Like this Polymer web. Yeah, but not in a direct way. As I say, it's for the prototyping, so you don't have super strict control over this. This is how this particular web component works, like this toolbar. Toolbar will look for a thing that is a main title, and then the main title will use all the space in between. So things before main title will be on the left, and things after main title will be on the right. Yeah, you have. Yes, you have, like, kind of, but if you go to webcomponents.org and you, this is from the app layout, thing, and I just used these web components, you see, so you have a lot of documentation here. So it's not like I created this library and now you have to know how my library works. My library is just bindings for web components. This particular Polymer web component. So this is kind of, I think this behavior is defined in material design, actually. So web components implement material design, and I just created bindings for web components. So if you know material design, you kind of know what to expect. Yeah, but of course with Elm itself, you can have full control over what goes where. Just like if you create your HTML. Only it's much more work to make it look nice. And that's exactly my point, that you can create something that looks good very quickly. Yeah?
This your Elm code, is it transpiled to JavaScript?
Technically, yes, but you shouldn't really think about it, because it is just implementation detail. Currently, Elm is compiled to JavaScript, but you should treat your compiled JavaScript as a binary. You don't look at it, just like you don't look at compiled C code. Yeah, it compiles it into JavaScript, but it's not like TypeScript or CoffeeScript.
Yeah, would it be readable JavaScript code? Because like TypeScript, they
made
sure that it was somewhat readable.
No, it's not meant to be read. It's kind of readable, yeah. It's like formatted and yeah, but no, it's not meant to be read. It's just like binary. It is not for reading. It's just for the machine to read, and that's also because, as creators of Elm stated, I believe, eventually Elm can be compiled to different things. Like for example, for binary, and then you could use Elm on the server side. Like right now, you kind of can use it, and there are some experiments with Node.js, but eventually there are discussions about maybe compiling it to Beam, the Erlang virtual machine, or maybe to native code or maybe something else. So right now it compiles to JavaScript, but it is just implementation detail.
Is there a source map support?
No, because you don't have source maps for C when you compile it to binary.
Yeah, but what if we want to debug in the browser?
Yeah, okay, of course, very good question. If you want to debug in a browser, you have a debugger, which is an Elm thing. And I will, if we have time, which I believe we don't have, I believe we have 4 minutes, so it kind of depends if they kick me. Yeah, the debugging experience in Elm is very good, and maybe. Yeah, maybe let's try. Well, let's see if I can go, because like right now there's not much to debug. Yeah, because this code, if I would make mistake, it won't compile. So it's like impossible to make a mistake that you would debug in this kind of application because it does nothing. So
we just have the title, and append an int to the string or something.
Yeah, sure, very good. Very good. Yeah, if I want to have a width with 80 by 10 plus px, let's be JavaScripty. I don't know what JavaScript will, probably it would make 800 px from this. Yeah, okay. And let's see. Is expecting left argument to be number, but left argument is a string. Okay, cannot do that. Won't compile.
Has to be created and invoke a JavaScript error.
Like what? Like throw.
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that. Let's not. Yeah. Well, it's not even a valid. Actually, it's a valid syntax. That I'm quite kind of surprised. It is a valid syntax, but of course it won't compile because throw is undefined, error is undefined, and yeah, so it reads it as follows. It thinks throw is a function, error is a type, and then you have a string. So it would, in Elm, this would mean call function throw, passing it error type, and then some string for in parentheses for no reason. So no, you cannot do that. Debug crash. Yeah, we can crash it. Like there is a way to kind of force crash it if you want to, and sometimes you want to, but you have to be explicit. You have to say debug crash, and if your execution reaches this point, your program will crash. And you, especially in prototyping, yeah, sometimes you want to do it because, for example, you want to interact with something from the outside world, like, for example, JSON that you get from a server. Server sends you a JSON. And then if you want to use it inside your Elm program, you have to decode it, which means parse it and turn it into Elm data structures. And then you expect some structure for this JSON, like that it will be an object with property full and some and a string to a property full, and you want to decode it to a record with entry full and a string. But then your server sends you an array or sends you null. Yeah, so you have to kind of, so because Elm wants to have no runtime exceptions, it has to deal with uncertain things coming from outside world. So you get some JSON from a server, but you don't really know what there is. You expect there to be what you expect, but server can send you something else. So what you do then is you decode it, and then you will get a thing called result. And result either contains your data that you can later use, or it contains error. And then you have to handle this error somehow. Maybe you want to display something on the screen. Maybe you want to make a call again. Maybe you want to send request to your monitoring system that something's wrong. but a lot of times, like you don't know what to do, so you just crash. So you can crash an application, but only if you decide that way.
So if you want to access the 10th element of a 5 item list,
You will get a maybe. Every access to list will return you a maybe. So yeah, so you have to, and then you have, a maybe. It's like it means that it will either have something like this element. Maybe I'll just show it. Like, why do I talk so much? Yeah, let's make a list. Things, and it will be a list of strings. Table and spoon. I don't know why. Maybe because my company is dealing with food a lot. Yeah, so we have two elements. Yeah. And let's say that I want to, instead of saying hello Elm, I would. No, it's not that smart. No, and I don't think it should be. But let's see. No, it won't crash. But you'll see. So I want to do something like list get 5. No, is it get? Is it? Okay. Actually, list doesn't have that, but we can make it an array from list. And now things is what's wrong here? Array is not imported. Import array, yeah. So now things is an array. And now I want to do something like things get. Yeah, of course. Old habit. Array.get. And array.get takes int, which is of course index, and then it takes list, the array. Detected one error, line 70. Yeah, of course. Thanks. Yeah. 800. Okay, so now of course it doesn't compile at this point because it says that function text is expecting a string, but it's getting a maybe string. You see? So now what I would have to do is to decode it. So I have to say case or like yeah, case array get 5 things off, and probably I need to take it into parentheses. And now I can say nothing, and then I will say there is no fifth. That's how you spell it? I think so. Thing here. And let's leave it at that. And look, it doesn't compile. It tells me that this is super nice. The case does not have all the branches possible. It's kind of smart, I would say. Or maybe it's just thingy. I cannot reuse things. I can because sorry. I'm talking nonsense. It's just a thing. And then I just give this thing. And now it compiles. And now I see there is no fifth thing here. But if I change it to 1, and I say second, then suddenly I have a spoon. You see, so in Elm, everything that could possibly fail in any way is taken care of. Yeah. So basically it's very hard to make Elm crash or do something like that in runtime if you don't specifically state it. Frankly, I once did it. I believe I created an endless loop, and I was playing with with the navigation, from the client side navigation, and I think I made wired in a way that after navigating to a route, it was transitioning to the same route, and I kind of hanged my browser, but it happened only once to me. And maybe they fixed it. I'm not sure because it was like 2 years ago, I think. So yeah, basically it almost never crashes. Of course, you can have bugs in Elm, like you can have semantic bugs, like if you create a function called add, and it will take int, and is it a thing like int number, no, number and number. Oh, sure, number is like that. So number, and number. This is a type annotation, or at least I'm trying to be. Add x and y, and let's say that I say x plus y. Yeah, that's a perfect code. So let's use it. Let's maybe add another div here, like after the header. Let's make a div, and it will have text of add 2 and 3, and of course it won't compile because text is expecting a string, but there is helpful toString, which will convert our thing into string. Yeah, so now we have 5. But of course, if I would say that add x and y is x minus y, of course the compiler won't help you in that case. Yeah? So it's not like you can't go wrong, like well-typed programs can't go wrong. Yeah, well-typed programs can go wrong because types won't save you from anything. But I would say that majority of bugs is probably due to wrong types. I would bet that it's like that. Yeah.
How is Elm different from Haskell? So that you don't have to explicitly state the type of the function?
Yeah, but in Haskell, I believe you don't have to as well. They both have type inference.
Oh, that's awesome.
I believe that.
Does it have lazy evaluation?
No, Elm doesn't have lazy evaluation. Like it can have, but not by default. It's very inspired by Haskell, definitely. But it's much simpler. Like you don't have a lot of things that are powerful but difficult to learn in Haskell. Like you don't have type classes in Elm, for example. So Elm is designed very much with ease of learning, I would say, in mind. Like it's a thing that I suspect. I have no data to claim it, but I would really like to do an experiment, like to take a person who wants to go to a bootcamp. Like we have a lot of bootcamps right now, and they mostly teach JavaScript. So take a person like that, a person who genuinely wants to learn programming, but has no significant experience. And instead of teaching JavaScript, teach them Elm. And I think that actually the learning experience will be better, and actually I think functional programming, especially in Elm, is actually easier than object-oriented programming. It's just our feeling, like I guess most of us are developers, we have experience, and most of us have experience with object-oriented development, because this is just a mainstream, it's dominant paradigm. So we know object-oriented, we've learned it, and now we think it's easy, because that's what we know. And then we encounter functional programming, and we think it's difficult. But, you know, like, I put a lot of years in learning Polish. That's my native language. You put a lot of years in learning Dutch. For me, Polish is easy. For you, probably not. But for you, for me, Dutch is difficult. For you, Dutch is easy. So I think it's kind of the same. Like I don't know which language is difficult. I think both are actually difficult, like Polish and Dutch. For different reasons, they are difficult languages to learn. But if you take it at face value, if you already know one language, you think it's easy. You know, I don't know, maybe I went too far with this analogy, but you know, what I mean is functional programming is very different than object-oriented. And if you already have brain wired to object-oriented, then switching to functional is difficult. But I think for someone with mind that is not yet put into into one of this paradigm, I think it's actually easier to learn functional. Yeah. Someone wants to start a bootcamp with me? Let's make an experiment, and yeah, maybe you know, it's a niche on the market. There's so many bootcamps, and they are doing pretty well. I think they're making good money, and they all teach JavaScript. Maybe if we do it differently, who knows? Okay, I think we are over time. I would love to show you more because we are actually, I believe, on the second point of my 5 points list. But I guess we have next speaker who is eager to talk. Yeah? Okay, so I hope we can have a discussion later, and I would love to talk to you. Okay, thank you.
Laten we weer 5 minuutjes pauze doen en dan gaat Tadeusz spreken.